It's the M&M Funky 5 Jive with Mike and Mel, a short and sweet podcast where they dive into toys, kids, and all the chaos in between. Packed with tips, stories, and unsolicited opinions because, let's face it, they've got plenty. And hey, their opinions are their own, so save your whining for someone who cares. Now let's get to it. Time to play with Mike and Mel.
Hey there, I'm Mel.
And I'm Mike.
And we're M&M Funky Stuff, and we're bringing you our third vlog podcast today. And today's topic is offline adventures, the simple joys of traditional play.
Offline adventures, meaning what?
Meaning get off the computer and get off your butt.
Meaning screen free. Screen free. It's a big catchphrase these days. Screen free. It's like when STEM came. Everything was STEM.
Right.
And everybody jumped on. So you got to be careful using it, I think, because it just ends up becoming negative if you do it that way. But I think what the underlying message that you have written up here is that, and we see it with our own kids and kids around us and adults, is that we all sit and look at our screens too much. TV, computers, phones, everything. You know, talk about how people gotten heavier and health and everything's going, you know, people's health is not as good as it used to be or whatever. I don't know if that's true, but it definitely doesn't help to sit around. Because in the 70s, they said the same thing about televisions. Sitting in front of the screen, sitting too close, going to hurt your eyes, you're going to go blind.
Well, and nowadays they're saying that sitting is the new smoking, which, you know, right. I sit a lot during the day, and so I do things to offset that. But I understand where they're coming from. But I think the bigger issue is that we're turning our brains off. Yeah. We're not engaging with each other. We're like, you know, these zombies that can't carry on conversations anymore outside of social media. And I think that what we really need to do is get back to each other and get back to nature and interaction and all the things that make relationships strong.
I think that, you know, as far as the internet goes and the screens and all that, it's a great resource to actually stimulate conversation or to prove points or whatever.
Oh, it absolutely
But
is.
I wonder if personal engagement and attention span decreases because of that. Because of constant entertainment or stimulation being thrown at you all the time. How should we push forward with being physical, being active? I mean, I have to force myself, honestly. I personally have to force myself to go for a walk, get up and jog, go run, go, you know, just do anything, get up and get moving. It's so easy to sit at a computer. You do it all the time. You sit at a computer 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I mean, you're the perfect example of getting up and moving.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring up this topic, because I feel like by the time I get to the end of my day, it's like I've had no real walking around or anything other than what I make myself do. And so one of the first things that we touch on in the blog post, you can see it at chickachakatoy.blogspot.com, is physical health and development. So kids need roughly, well, I would say everybody probably needs 60 minutes of physical activity a day.
Which is why the NFL adopted the play 60.
Right.
I mean, you know, 60 is minimum.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, go on.
And that's how my Fitbit is set. I make sure that if I look at it, it's staring me in the face and it's telling me, oh my gosh, how many minutes of activity today? And it makes me accountable. There are a lot of physiological things that go in behind it, but then I also think there's cognitive issues as well. I mean, sometimes you just have to get out of the rabbit hole and take in the sunshine or take in another human being and interact.
Well, and it goes back to your statement about turning your brain to mush. You know, it's like my dad's 80, what is he, 88, 87, and he's sharp. It's because he reads. He reads 2 books a week. Right. They always have said, you know, you keep your mind active. You read. Right. It's that stimulation. You know, it's the same thing with anything. It's like a puzzle when you think about it. when you're reading. You gotta decipher the words.
You do have to
Passive listening, passive watching, all of that stuff. I mean, I can put the news on in the morning and play a video game that I like, and I'm not paying attention to either one of them really. I don't hear what they're saying on the TV. It's just noise in the background, and it's ridiculous when it comes down to the part we're interested in. And we say it with our toy. We say, take a screen break, take a chicka chaka break, get up, play, get moving. If they're sitting in front of the TV, say, all right, 10 minutes, we're going to play this game. 10 minutes may turn into 20 more or more.
Right.
Excuse me. But I think that's the kind of thing that just motivates you. Set an alarm or something. I don't know.
Right. And that's
get up and get going. And you in Mel's, there's lots of good information about getting up and getting moving and why you should do it. And I think that just reading through that's a quick read, and you read.
And you read. That in itself. There you go. Something else that we brought up too was that ties into that is the social skills and the emotional well-being. Sometimes when we take those breaks, we can evaluate what our next move will be in, these kind of social media interactions. I mean, if you walk away, take a breath, come back, figure it out, just taking a break kind of gets your mind calmed down.
Moderation. That's
right.
That's what they teach in martial arts.
Right.
Be smart. Be thoughtful. Be engaged, but be mindful of yourself and others and all of that. So, underlying message is
just take a break. What did you like to do? Because you weren't a computer kid, and I was, but that was
what do you mean you were?
Like the computers that they had, like the Commodore 64 and stuff.
That didn't
we
count.
Didn't. Well,
there was no social media.
Well, I know that, but
so for we grew up in a time when you were outside all the time, and you were always going.
Yeah.
They make all those kids. They say that when the lights came on, you went home. Sometimes that didn't even work. We never went home. We were outside all the time.
We were outside from the time we put the cereal.
When the lights went down, that means the flashlights came out. So we were having a blast all the time outside. The summertime. In the wintertime, you're stuck.
Yeah.
It was boring sometimes, but we would play games, and we would, we played so many board games and stuff.
Oh, I know.
And made adventures and made the forts in the living room and all that kind of stuff. And then, luckily for me, we lived, first half of my life in the city, the second half in the farm. And the farm part was a blast because I don't care to this day. I'll go out and, a blizzard and enjoy it because I like being outside. But it's not for everybody.
I'd go out, like if it was summertime, I'd go out from the minute I was done my breakfast, and we were gone all day long. So we'd go knock on everybody's door, go get everybody in our little crew, and then we'd decide what we wanted to do. So there was a field behind my house. And so we'd go back there and we'd make these bases out of the worn parts of the grass, and we'd play kickball, or we'd play softball.
Oh, bases.
Bases so that you could play kickball. And then, maybe after that, we'd get on our bikes and we'd ride up to the shopping center and go get candy and sodas and whatnot. And then
that's a bad thing.
Yeah, but in the 70s, it's okay. They pumped you full of sugar back then. And then
well, we had all kinds of.
And then we'd come back, and let's say all of a sudden it rained, we'd go to somebody's house and maybe put together some kind of skit show or play games.
And the cool thing is that at those days, we get home from school and it'd be Sammy Terry, and we'd watch an hour of some scary, stupid show or whatever it was, and then it was over. And if you missed it, you missed it.
Right.
And there was no going back. There's no streaming. There was no delay.
Right.
So anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
But those were really good times in your life, right? Yeah. I mean, you remember those things, but I remember the memories that stick with me the most are the ones where they were interactive and fun, and everybody was just laughing together, having a great time.
And that's the point.
Yeah.
It's less than the screen time, but it's really more about the interaction.
Right.
Being physical, moving, whatever.
Right.
But even if you can't be physical, it's the interactions. It's sitting it's playing Monopoly. It's playing, Life or checkers or whatever.
Right.
Cards.
Right.
I mean, when my kids were little, we'd have poker games when they were like 5.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So, go. So let's wrap it up.
So get out there, start moving. If you want any ideas about different games there are to play, there's some ideas on the NFL Play 60 website. There's Quora, as a matter of fact, of all places. There are a lot of people that have been in forums asking, hey, what's the best thing to do with my 3-year-old? But this is the best thing right here.
Get your game, get your Chicka Chaka game, do a Chicka Chaka break, and get up and play. Go outside, go inside, just have some fun.
See you next time.